caught in the crossfire. It's caught in the...
What's up, guys? Lance the Obscure Movie Guy coming to you once again with another fun-filled, fact-filled video that you probably won't care about, but we're going to do it anyways, trying to change the world one post at a time. Today's video is not done in partnership with anybody. Today's video is finally something that I've been sitting on for a while that I've wanted to review for myself. And since International Women's Day just passed, and I've talked about this lady on my channel before, we're going to talk about her again. I'm talking about 2024's Black Creek, starring Cynthia Rothrock.
Where's my brother?
He's dead.
I'm real sorry about what happened to your kin.
I found my family murdered.
You don't want to mess with Sinclair. He's powerful. Got an army.
What the hell are you doing on my land?
Your land.
Kills anyone gets in his way.
You have much to learn.
Your spirit is strong, but your body needs time to heal.
Don't go taking any big chances that get you put in the grave.
The only one that's going to be put in a grave is Sinclair.
I'm gonna enjoy ripping you apart with my own bare hands.
Let's fight.
Black Creek is a martial arts western about a lady that comes home to find that her brother has been killed, her niece enslaved, his land taken from him, all by a guy named Damien Sinclair who runs the local town, under the guise that he is the king of that area. It is written, directed, and stars none other than Cynthia Rothrock. Now, if you're not familiar with Cynthia Rothrock, well, shame on you, because she is a bona fide badass. She has gotten multiple degrees of black belts in multiple styles of martial arts. She's been studying since she was 13, primarily Tang Sudo. She has got multiple awards in weapons training, demonstrations. She was on the Ernie Reyes demonstration team back in the 80s. She has starred in films with Jackie Chan, Michelle Yeoh, Yin Yao, Chad McQueen. She is an absolute martial arts legend, and she is back doing her own thing, and I am all for it. She has been a big part of my life growing up. I loved Cynthia Rothrock. I loved her movies. I thought she was awesome, and it's great to see her doing her own thing as far as the writing, the directing, some of the fight choreography, and bringing this film together. It was a lot of fun to watch. Now, as far as the actual movie itself, it's sound. It's got good picture quality, camera quality. The fight scenes are really good. It's got good cinematography. Some of the acting is pretty on point. Some of it, not so much. It is what it is. Not everybody that was in the film is technically an actor. A lot of them are martial artists doing acting. But fundamentally, this is a pretty sound movie. I don't have a whole lot of complaints. There's no audio issues. Like I said, the lighting is good. Cinematography is good. Fight choreography is good. And she did a really good job of bringing together a lot of martial art legends back into a film. It was very much a throwback and a nod to traditional Cynthia Rothrock fans that have been with her since the beginning, and very much a throwback to the 80s and 90s. The late 70s, after we lost Bruce Lee, the 70s and into the early 80s, there was very much a kung fu boom, if you will, which is part of the reason why Cynthia got her start. Realistically, they were looking for the next Bruce Lee, as a lot of production companies were back in the day. She was on the Ernie Reyes. If you're not familiar with Ernie Reyes or Ernie Reyes Jr., again, shame on you. But she was a part of the Ernie Reyes demonstration team, went and did some tryouts, and got the call, hey, we know we were looking for the next Bruce Lee, but we would really like to use that blonde-haired chick. And she went and did a lot of films. in China and Hong Kong. Again, Yes, Madam with Michelle Yeoh. Did a couple of movies with Jackie Chan. I mean, just a very prominent figure in the martial arts world. And then in the early 90s, decided that she would try and go. Honestly, in the early 90s, she kind of decided she would go the same route as like Dolph Lundgren, kind of do like her own action films straight to video, which was kind of a big risk back in the early 90s because obviously there's no streaming platforms. Things were still VHS for the most part. Um, but kind of went that route and had some really good success with things like Martial Law 2, Guardian Angel, Lady Dragon. I mean, there's a ton of them out there. But I mean, again, I'm getting kind of off course, but back in the day, it was easier for production companies to get a martial artist to act than it was to get an actor to do martial arts. Um, and that's kind of where you find yourself with Black Creek again. Is it's very much a lot of actors that are martial artists first, actors second, and that comes through in the fight scenes. um, so again, I mean, as far as production quality goes, it's pretty top notch. Not all of the acting is you know pinpoint. We're not winning any Oscars here, but for the most part, everybody did an admirable job, and the plot got across, and the storyline was. I don't want to say the storyline was original. It's nothing that we haven't seen before, but I think it was executed fairly well for what was written. Your typical Western revenge story, but with martial arts thrown in as well. And I will say, as far as the opening sequence goes for this film, I was a little taken aback by it because it was actually a lot more brutal than I anticipated from a Cynthia Rothrock film. Um, so the violence is definitely there. The special effects is there. There's a lot more blood and gore than I anticipated coming from her, which was pretty cool. It was a nice change of pace. Um, and you get to see you meet Damien Sinclair in this opening sequence, as played by Richard Norton. God bless him. Unfortunately, we lost Richard Norton in 2025. Um, but man, as far as the acting goes, now that he was the best character in this film by far. I really enjoyed Damien Sinclair. So here's the thing. I like Richard Norton. He's been in the movie industry for a long time. He's from Australia. He's done a ton of stuff as far as fight choreography for films, as far as being an actor. Um, he was in Mad Max, Fury Road. He was in Furiosa, Mad Max Story. Did some fight choreography for a lot of stuff. Back in the day, he did 8 episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger. Richard Norton been around the block a few times, and did a lot of things with Cynthia Rothrock back in the 90s as far as a lot of films that they worked on together. And I loved his character. I did. And I mean that because I liked it because it was Richard Norton. Richard Norton was having a lot of fun with this character. I liked Richard Norton's acting. I liked Richard Norton as Damien Sinclair. I don't like Damien Sinclair. You're not supposed to. He's a bad guy. He does a lot of shady things. He's kind of scummy. But that's the point. But Richard Norton did an amazing job doing this character. And it was I don't know if it's just because they're both Australian and maybe they just sound a little similar, but for me it really kind of reminded me of like Vernon Wells as a bad guy, like in like say Commando or something like that. Like he's scummy, he's brash, he's overconfident, and you just don't like him, but you like the actor doing the character. It was a great character for him to portray. And God bless him. I'm going to miss Richard Norton, as I'm sure as many of his friends from the film will as well. You also had a couple of good characters that ended up working with Cynthia Rothrock's character on as the part of the good guys. You had this guy Roy, played by R. Marcus Taylor. He had a very interesting character arc. He essentially gets his butt kicked in the beginning of the film by Cynthia Rothrock's character, but towards the middle and the end of the film has a bit of a change of heart and a bit of an understanding of who she is and what she's going through. And there's a little bit of a nice character arc with Roy that I thought was pretty cool. You also see Don the Dragon Wilson, who, again, he's worked with Cynthia on a lot of different films. Again, bona fide badass, kickboxing champion, world kickboxing champion. And again, a very similar path. Did a lot of movies back in the late 80s, early 90s when he was done his kickboxing career. Again, martial artist turned actor, a lot of straight to video type stuff. Blood Fist franchise, if anybody's ever seen any of them. So really cool dude, and I love the chemistry between Cynthia and Don because they are best friends in real life, and that comes across on screen. They've done a lot of cool things together as far as some of the other movies that they've been on, that I've talked about on this channel before. You should go check them out. Um, and I like Don the Dragon Wilson. He's very he's as he's gotten older, his look has gotten more versatile. It's like Lou Diamond Phillips. Lou Diamond Phillips and Don the Dragon Wilson. If you need a Hawaiian, if you need a Native American, if you need an Asian, if you needed somebody that's Indo-Pacific or something like that, they've got the look to portray a lot of different ethnicities of characters. It's really interesting, and in this case, he was able to play a bit of a Native American part. Part Native American, part Chinaman. Um, and he had a really cool character and story arc as well. Didn't go as well as Roy's character arc. I don't want to give too much away in the way of the plot, but really cool character for Don the Dragon Wilson to do. And still good to see him kicking butt, man, because that guy, again, bona fide badass and underrated actor, underappreciated, I think, really. There's also some pretty cool cameos from some former martial artists. There's a pretty cool fight scene in a gated, like, I guess where they would like a horse fenced in area where the horses would be, a couple of fighters. But if you pay close enough attention, you'll notice that it's Keith Vitale and Benny the Jet Urquidez. Again, both guys have been at this for a long time. Benny the Jet, again, another world-renowned kickboxing champion, multiple black belts. Keith Vitale's got his own accolades that he's been around the block a time or two for sure. So really, like I said, this was very much a throwback and a nod to Cynthia Rothrock fans and fans of like black belt theater, which me growing up, that was on every Saturday. Black belt theater, where we saw all kinds of cool stuff. Yes, Madam was definitely one of them. Dragons Forever. I can name a dozen kung fu films that I watched. Enter the Ninja on Black Belt Theater growing up. So it was really cool that Cynthia was able to bring these people together, kind of a throwback to what her career has been like, through the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. As far as anything negative to go with this movie, I had to really critique anything. There was maybe a couple times where I thought maybe some music could have been used just to maybe set the tone, maybe set the ambiance a little bit. We're not winning any Oscars with anything, but I think for the most part, fairly solid actors, some great martial artists. Richard Norton did an amazing job. And Black Creek is really it's just a lot of fun. It's got some very typical Western and martial art tropes that come together quite elegantly, honestly. You wouldn't think that a martial arts Western would really be a thing. It's a very niche subgenre, but I think Cynthia Rothrock pulled it off. I know she put a lot of effort into this. I follow her on Facebook. I know she I pretty much watched this thing be built over the last few years from the ground up with everything that she was trying to do with it. And I think she did a great job. I liked her character as Rose Jennings. I liked Richard Norton as Damian Sinclair. Patrick Kilpatrick, unfortunately, he wasn't in the film very long, but another actor that's been around for quite some time. And, there's talk of her trying to do a second one, and I hope she does. She's, like I said, she's I've been watching her my whole life, realistically, and I thought now would be a good time since we just had International Women's Day last week. And I've talked about her on this channel before as one of my I think if you go back 5 years, you might find me talking about Cynthia Rothrock. And many years ago as well, I did a blog about her for International Women's Month over at the mustacheandthebeard.com. I don't think that website still exists, unfortunately, but I did do a blog about all of the stuff that she had accomplished in her martial arts career and in her movie career. I guess it's kind of weird. I guess I always had such great admiration for her because as a kid growing up, my mother, God bless her. She was a third-degree brown belt in Ishinru Karate. Unfortunately, I came along, and a career came along, so she couldn't quite continue down that path. She was one thing away from being a black belt in Ishinru Karate, but she did teach me some things as I was growing up. And I myself, I've done Lung Fudo, I've done Taekwondo, I've done some kickboxing. Unfortunately, I can't kick the way I used to. My back doesn't allow it, so I've had to resort to boxing in the last few years. But nonetheless, I've always been a big fan of martial arts. And I've always had great admiration for Cynthia Rothrock, not for what she is, but for who she is. So, and I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to my man Keith Zilk. He was one of the extras in this film. He was also one of the extras in The Hive. I got to meet him and talk with him a couple times. Very interesting guy. Apparently, he's been friends with Cynthia for quite some time. So, shout out to him. That was pretty cool to find out. And he's a really interesting guy to talk to. And he knows some stuff. Definitely not a guy I'd want to run into in a dark alley for sure. So, but that's my take on Black Creek. It's currently available on Tubi. I highly recommend go watching it if you're a martial arts fan, if you're a Cynthia Rothrock fan. This is definitely going to be for you guys. Like, subscribe, and comment on my YouTube channel. Check me out on Facebook and Instagram. I'll see everybody in the next one.